This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Mark Sale, the CEO of First Class Metals. Following news last week that First Class has signed an agreement with Nunesco Resources Limited for the Zigzag Lithium Project in Ontario. So welcome back, Mark. First of all, I know you were in PDAC last week. Just give us a bit of an idea what it was like there.
It was hectic, chaotic, incredibly busy. I think 28,000 people attended. I got down onto the trade floor most days, but I only managed to cover a fraction of the aisles, to be honest, because typical PDAC, you walk 10 yards and you see somebody, you start talking, then you go off and have a cup of coffee and maybe talk about a side deal. As I keep saying, watch this space. You never know what's going to come next. But yeah, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of activity, but the markets are still really tight for money. But then again, as is always, good management, good projects, you'll always find funding. That's my opinion, and that's my opinion.
I agree, and I would take that as a good sign that there's appetite there. There's some slight caution, but that does suggest that the bottom is certainly, if not coming in very soon, and the money is ready to go into compelling exploration projects. So I take that very much as a positive. If there was no one there, I'd be quite concerned. So that's good. Thank you for that.
Well, hey, the demand is still out there, be it for the new buzz critical metals or gold. I mean, I see gold's on a run at the moment, so the demand is there. So yes. Good projects, well managed, will find money.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about the recent news then. Could you just start by perhaps explaining the significance of the Zigzag Lithium Project for the company and how it fits into the company's exploration focus?
Well, it has a number of good fits, Mark. One is, yes, it's lithium, so it's all the buzz at the moment, a critical metal. And also, of course, as a critical metal in Ontario, if you apply for flow-through funding, you get a significant uplift on that as well. So there's a few pluses. We don't have a straight lithium play, though obviously with our joint venture with Palladium One on West Pickle Lake, we do have some of the critical battery metals, but we didn't have a straightforward lithium play. So that's why I was attracted to this one. It's standalone, it's ring-fenced. So as far as exploration, accounting, attractiveness, it's, as I say, it's standalone. So I'm really enthusiastic about it, obviously. It took a lot of hard work bringing it to fruition. As people say, the last 10% takes 90% of the effort when going through all the devil in the detail. But we got there, and fortuitously, we signed it during PDAC, which was even better. It's a while since I've actually physically signed a deal with somebody, as opposed to sign and scan and Zoom type thing. But yeah, it was a good feeling.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I noted from the RNS that you mentioned there about the historical activity that's been taking place on the project, but also importantly that there's already an exploration permit in place. So what are the plans for the exploration activities that the company plans to carry out on the project? And do you have any expected timelines?
Well, we will have somebody going up there in the very near future in order to check out the access and to see whether it might be feasible to get in there during winter before the thaw, and just generally what the best access is, whether we'll need ATVs or whether it'll have to be a helicopter-borne exploration program if we're there after the thaw. So yes, should get some feedback on that within this month. And then as far as work program and timelines, you are correct. It does have an exploration permit on it. What I would focus on first, and I had a long discussion with Emerald Geological Surveys on this, is going back in there and replicating some of the historic channel samples and, where possible, taking more diamond sawn channel samples. It's mapped over 800 meters, up to 20 meters wide. What I would like to do is, ideally, is to confirm those dimensions. It might need a bit of hand stripping. I'm not sure we'd be able to do mechanical stripping without a lot of extra heavy plant material, as in JCB. So initially get in there, replicate the historic trenches and expand on those so we can confirm the dimensions and the grade, continuity of grade. That's the important thing.
Okay, excellent. It's good to hear that there are plans ready to go. So I did also note from the RNS, you quoted by saying the acquisition of additional properties such as Zigzag Lake is a strategic progression for FCM. So what's the rationale behind it? I mean, what are we talking about here in terms of the forecast for lithium demand and production in North America? And how do you feel that this project specifically really answers that question for you?
Well, I think there's no doubt that the demand for lithium is going to continue. They do have some brines, I understand, in Canada. I'm not sure about Ontario. But so realistically, it's hard rock lithium, where the name of the game is in Ontario. This area that we have, Zigzag Lake, it's part of a belt that has a number of different lithium-bearing pegmatites in it. The Australians are heavily into there. In fact, the Seymour Lake development, which is due to come on stream in, I think it's 2025, is only 10 miles away from us. So that will be a major lithium hub. So really, we've got the next 2 years in order to do some significant exploration on that and bring it up to a point whereby we might attract somebody's interest in it. Strategically, as I previously said, First Class didn't have a pure lithium play. Now we have. And that sort of fills our commodity box, shall we say, as far as the properties that we would be looking for going forward.
Okay, so you say there fills the commodities box then. So I mean, just thinking on the sort of the strategy, the overall strategy for perhaps acquiring additional projects or assets into the company, particularly relating to critical metals, is that still very much part of the strategy given the global shift towards greener and cleaner economies? Would you be looking for other projects, or are you happy that the box is fully ticked?
I've discussed it with the management and the board, and I see three justifications in my head for picking up additional property. One is contiguous with our existing property when we have something that we feel might trend off our property. So if that ground became available either for staking or for some sort of joint venture, I would consider additional property in that regard. Secondly, if it was a no-brainer type situation, which is what the Sunbeam project was, historic gold mine up for grabs. And thirdly, if it was a boutique metal element, which I think we've covered with lithium. So realistically, the only one left would be uranium. There's not a lot of uranium plays in Ontario. I believe in our early stages of the company, we're still in our first year since listing, that we should remain focused, and our focus is on Ontario. So probably as far as other metals are concerned, we are full up, shall we say. Okay. Would we consider other critical metals? Well, that comes back to category number 1 and 2, contiguous or a no-brainer. So I'm not saying that the line has been drawn as far as property acquisition is concerned, but yes, we've got 9 properties now. So obviously we must proceed with a degree of diligence and make sure we don't overstretch ourselves. Yes, indeed. That's very important, not to overstretch yourselves. I mean, is this a risk mitigation as well as potential exposure with these 9 projects, Mark? Well, I think when we say 9 projects, I think realistically we should think about area, because, like, for example, Magical is less than 5 square kilometres. North Hemlo is 90 square kilometres. So you should really think in terms of areas as opposed to numbers of property, because, yes, you could walk across Magical in half a day, well, if conditions were up to it, whereas you could be exploring on North Hemlo for the next 5 years. So, as I say, let's not get carried away by an absolute number as opposed to an area. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Mark Sale, the CEO of First Class Metals. Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.